I'm Trisha Bear. I'm a culinary student that graduated in 2022 at OSUIT in Okmulgee. And today I'm going to show you how to make Texas Roadhouse rolls. So the first thing we want to do is we want to take a pack of active dry yeast. It has to be this certain kind for these rolls. You want to take 1 pack of yeast and heat up a 1/4 cup of water, but you only want to heat it up till it's warm. So I've got the water in the microwave. So we're going to just barely heat it up so it's lukewarm. And then we're going to put the yeast inside of the water so it can activate the yeast. Yeah, that's it. Just warm. So again, it's a 1/4 cup of water. And we're going to put in the yeast. 1 pack. And then I'm just going to lightly mix it up 1 time and let it set, and it should start forming bubbles. Okay, so then the second thing you're going to do is take 2 tablespoons of unsalted softened butter, so let it sit out at room temperature to get really soft, and you're going to heat up 1/2 cup of buttermilk and 1/2 cup of regular milk. Once you heat up the milk, then you're going to put the 2 tablespoons of butter into the milk, which I just did, and you're going to make sure that it's completely melted. Okay. All right. And so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to mix it in a mixing bowl, and we're going to put in the milk mixture, the yeast with the water that activated it. Then we're going to put in 1 egg, a 1/4 cup of sugar, a pinch of salt, and then we're going to start with 1 cup of flour, but we're actually going to need 3.5 cups of flour for this recipe. But you want to put this flour in slow so that it doesn't, for one, it doesn't get thrown everywhere. And then also, it'll mix better if you put it in a little bit at a time. Okay, so we have our yeast mixture here that we're going to pour in. And then we're going to pour in our milk, 1/2 cup of buttermilk, 1/2 cup of milk, and then 2 tablespoons of softened butter. Now we use unsalted butter because chefs like using unsalted butter because butter has different amounts of salt in it. So we always use unsalted butter unless the recipe calls for salted, we'll use unsalted. So that's a total of 1 cup, 1/2 buttermilk and 1/2 regular milk. Okay, and then we're also going to put in the sugar, which basically is just a 1/4 cup of sugar. Alright. And then we're going to mix that up with 1 cup of flour. And you're going to beat it on high with the dough hook, and this is what a dough hook looks like. It's got the little curve on the bottom. That's what they use to do bread with. Alright, so we're going to mix the milk mixture, the yeast with the water, the 1/4 cup of water that we had in it, the sugar, salt, just a pinch of salt, and then 1 cup of flour. So you just need a pinch of salt in your mixing bowl. And I kind of spread it around. I just don't throw it in one spot. That helps it mix up better. Okay, and then 1 cup of flour. Now I'm just using all-purpose flour. I always sift my flour so that there's no lumps in it. If I was going to be making something with chocolate, I'd make sure I would mix up or sift the cocoa also. And also I sift the powdered sugar if I was going to use powdered sugar. Okay, so you're going to start it on low because the flour will get thrown everywhere if you don't start it on low. And we're trying to get the consistency of where the dough comes off of the hook, the dough hook. So you want to keep mixing it till you get that consistency. You also want to periodically, you want to scrape down your bowl and make sure you got all the flour off the paddle hook. So I'm just scraping down the sides to make sure I got all the flour in the right place. Alright, starting again. And then once you add the first cup of flour, you can go ahead and add the egg to the bowl. Once you get it mixed up, add 1 egg, and then you're going to continue to add the rest of the flour, which is a total of 3.5 cups of flour. While that's mixing up, I was just going to show you, here's my rolling pin, and it's a measured rolling pin. So say you want the dough or the bread to be a certain thickness. This has different thicknesses on the end of the rolling pin. So this one's 3/8 of an inch, which is about the size I want my bread to be when I start rolling it. But if you want it to be a smaller size, you just take off the end cap of the measuring pin, or the rolling pin, sorry. It's called a measured rolling pin. So that way you can get the exact thickness that you're looking for. Alright, so I'm going to add the egg next, and then I'm going to continue adding the flour. And what I'm going to do is stop it. It's just easier on the egg because I don't want to get the shell in there. Just easier to stop the mixer. Alright, got the 1 egg. Alright, now I'm going to mix up the egg, and then I'm going to add the other 2.5 cups of flour. And you can turn it up a little bit higher when you're just putting the egg in. But when you put the flour in, make sure it's on low so it doesn't throw it everywhere. A little bit higher. Okay, now it's mixing it up. Okay, so now I'm going to add the other 2.5 cups of flour. And I'm just going to add on slowly, 1 cup at a time, until it gets mixed in. Now once we get the dough mixed up really well and it comes off the dough hook pretty easily, it's not too sticky, then we're going to put it in a bowl. We're going to put it into a bowl, and we're going to lightly oil the bowl so that it will come out easy whenever it gets done setting. And it has to set for 1 hour before you roll it out or do anything else to it. Okay, so I'm going to add another scoop of flour. I'm going to turn it off for just a second and scrape down the sides of the bowl. While that's doing that, I'm going to actually put a little bit of oil in the bottom of the bowl just to coat it, so whenever I get ready to put the dough in there, it's already oiled. And I just take a little paper towel and just go around the edges and the bottom. That way it comes out easier. And I'm also going to cover it with saran wrap, and I'm going to lightly put oil on the saran wrap so it comes right off of the bread when you get it done. Okay, I'm going to add another cup of flour. And while it's mixing, whenever I get the dough rolled out, I'm going to use this cutter right here which is very handy when you're trying to cut bread the same shape or the brownies the same shape. It's very handy to just cut them with that. Now, the key on making Texas Roadhouse rolls is you want to make them touching. So when we get to the point where we're putting them in the oven, after they sit for an hour, then we're going to cut them and let them rest for 20 minutes. Then we're going to put them in the oven, but you want to make sure they're touching. If you don't make them where they're like 2 inches apart, if you want to make them like that, they're going to be harder and they're not going to be as soft and they're not going to rise as well. So that's the catch when you're trying to make biscuits. You want them to be fluffier. You want to make them all touchy when you put them in the pan. So I'm going to dump the rest of this flour in, little at a time, so it don't float everywhere. Okay. All right. So now I've used all my flour. It's 3.5 cups of flour. A little bit in my pan here. Alright, so I'm going to stop the mixer and pull it up, and so I can scrape down the sides. Now this is a really good KitchenAid mixer. If you can ever get a stand mixer, you want to get a KitchenAid that has the attachment on the front. It comes in really handy when you're trying to grate cheese or cut vegetables. It'll grate a whole block of cheese in like 2 minutes. It's way easier than trying to use a regular hand grater. Okay. Now basically I want to mix it until that dough kind of comes off the hook, where it's not still sticking to the hook, and that's how you know it's ready to come out. And I'm going to put it, when it gets done, I'm going to put it over here on the board. Well, this is actually called a baking mat, and I really like it because it has it's a Tupperware baking mat, and it has a really good texture, so the bread won't stick to it. So I'm just going to put a little bit of flour on it. The dough's still mixing. I'm going to scrape it down one more time. Okay. See how it's just hanging off the dough hook there? It's almost ready, because once it starts falling off the dough hook, then we know, okay, it's ready to put in a ball and put in that bowl. All right. Now you can put it on a higher speed, just because there's not flour on top of it and it's mixed in, so it's not going to throw it everywhere. See how it's falling off the hook, and then if you go like that, it'll come off easier and it's not as sticky. A couple more minutes. And while that's doing that, I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of flour onto our baking mat. And you don't need a whole lot of flour, just a little bit. You don't want it to be too floury. So maybe like a 1/4 cup of flour, and you can just hold it up high and sprinkle it. You don't want to do it low because it will stick in a wad there. You don't want that. Just gently sprinkle it out. Okay, now let's check our bread. Yeah, see how it comes off the dough hook like that? Okay, so basically, so far we put in a packet of yeast and mixed it with a 1/4 cup of warm water, and then we heated a 1/2 cup of milk, a 1/2 cup of buttermilk, and we put 2 tablespoons of softened butter into the milk, and then we put that into our mixing bowl, and then we added the sugar, which is a 1/4 cup of sugar, 1 egg, and then 1 cup of the flour. And then after we did all that, we added the other 2.5 cups of flour. All right, so I'm going to take it off the mixer here. Let's see if I can get it out. It's still a little sticky. Still a little bit sticky. I'm gonna do it a little bit longer, just to make sure it's going to come out of that bowl easier. Now you can over mix it, which makes it go flat when you bake it. So you just kind of got to tell when it can actually all come off the dough hook. That's when you know it's ready to roll. And you don't have to heat your oven yet because you're going to let it sit for an hour. And then once you roll out the dough, then you can go ahead and preheat your oven. And your oven's going to be 400 degrees, and it should take from 12 to 15 minutes. My oven takes about 11 at home, so you just have to check your oven to see how long it's going to take. Okay, so now we're making the Roadhouse rolls, and so I sprayed the saran wrap with oil, so whenever I take it off the dough, it comes right off. And so now we have to roll out the dough because it's already set for an hour. So we're going to roll out the dough, and I'm going to roll it out to about a 1/2 inch thickness. So I'm going to leave the 1/2 inch end cap on, and then we're going to let it set 20 minutes before we put it in the oven. Before I do that, make sure you put enough flour on your baking mat or it will stick. So it's okay, you can use whatever flour you want, but make sure you got it coated and spread out or it will stick to the deal. Just like this. Just like that. Okay, and then I'm going to get it out of the pan. If you got a bench scraper, that will help you get it out of the pan easier. Should come right out though. See? Not sticking in the pan because I oiled the pan earlier, so it wouldn't stick to the pan. Okay, so now I'm just going to knead it just for a minute, and then we're going to roll it out. Now, you want to roll it out with your rolling pin with flour on it because it will stick to the rolling pin if you don't have enough flour on it. So be sure to heavily flour your rolling pin. This is a measured rolling pin. I think I got it on Amazon. It's really handy because it helps me with the thickness of whatever dough I'm doing, which I really like. It makes it all uniform, so it's all going to cook the same too. That's why it's important to make sure they're all the same width, the same size. And I also have this, and I'm going to use this to actually cut the rolls so they're the same size and they're more uniform. Okay, there's that. So I'm just going to knead the dough like this. I'm going side to side, just like so. And you just need to do that a little bit just to get it in more of a round shape. Spread out your flour, and I'm going to roll it out to a square because that's the size I'm trying to get is to fit that right there. And see, I'm just pushing down just so the end caps touch the mat, and that's going to be about a 1/2 inch. Like that. See how it's sticking right there? Put more flour on it. There's a lot of flour in it. Get some more flour. All right. All right, so I'm rolling out the dough with the rolling pin. It's a measured rolling pin. And I'm rolling it out and I'm trying to get it to a 1/2 inch thick because once it cooks in the oven, it's going to probably triple in size. Pick it up and move it a little bit. Make sure you got flour underneath so it doesn't stick. See, I was able to move it because it's got flour on it. So then now I'm going to try to go this way to get it to go square this way. And I'm just trying to get it to 1/2 inch thick. So they're all uniform. They're all going to cook the same. And when we get it out of the oven, we've got some garlic spread that we're going to use. Let me grab it because I'm looking to show you. This is the garlic spread, and my friend said he just got that in Okmulgee Walmart. They don't always have it, but if you can find this, buy you a whole tub of it. You're going to need it for these rolls because they're that good. Now this batch makes 12 rolls. I would double it because they're not going to last with just 12 rolls. So if you can double it, go ahead and double it because you're going to like them. They're just like Texas Roadhouse rolls, but they're softer. And when we put them on the tray, they're going to be cooking. They're going to be touching, and that's the key. You don't put them 2 inches apart. I know a lot of recipes say that. That's not correct. You want to have them touching. Okay, see how I have it rolled out in like a rectangular shape? And my rolling pin is barely touching it, so that tells me it's 1/2 inch. If I took this end cap off, take it down to the purple is going to have a different measurement. See? And this one's going to be... Can't read. Oh, 1/16 of an inch. See? And if you wanted it 1/16 of an inch, then that's the one you leave on the rolling pin. But I wanted it to be a 1/2 inch, so I put all the colors on there. And I got this on, I believe, on Amazon. It's really handy, especially if you can't tell if it's the same thickness or not. Okay, so I've got it rolled out, and now I'm going to go ahead and cut it the way I want it cut, and then it's going to rest for 20 minutes before we put it in the oven. If I put it about right there, that should cut it, and it makes them all uniform. They look nicer. So I'm going to press down like so. And go up. Now, if it doesn't cut it all the way down, you can use a pizza cutter to actually make sure it's cut on all 4 sides, or at least 3 of the sides. Get this pizza cutter off here. Okay, let me check on this real fast. All right. So we're going to make sure it's all cut. So I just have a pizza cutter. If it don't cut it all the way to the bottom, I just go back over it gently because you want to make sure it's lined up. And lined up. Now I'm going to go ahead and put them in the pan. That way, all I got to do is put it in the oven once they have rested for 20 minutes. Okay. Cutter. Okay. See how they're very similar? You're going to have some odd shapes at the end, but I don't want to waste the dough, so I'll just go ahead and put them in there. Okay. Now, pan. Okay. Down here's the pan. Now this pan here actually goes with this attachment, and you can actually cook it in the pan just like this. I've already cut the dough, so for this I'm not going to use these 2 attachments, but it's really handy if you just want to lift that dough or whatever you're cooking right out of the pan. It's got 2 little handles at the end, and you can just lift it right out of the pan, and it's not going to stick to the pan. It's very handy. Okay, so now on these biscuits, I am going to spray it. I'm going to put a little oil on this one, instead of the spray. But if you can get the spray for it, you want to get the pan baking spray. It's got flour in it and it will make them not stick. I'm just spraying a little bit. It works the best, I think, as far as cooking spray goes. All right, so I'm going to use this spatula to actually pick them up and put them in the pan. Now I want them all touching because that is the key to making this dough rise correctly. And also when it cooks, it's going to be a lot fluffier. And then you can kind of fit them all in like this, and it should be like 3 on the side. And it depends on the size of your pan too. So if you only want them 1/2 inch thick, you're going to have to scoot them to the right side. Depends on your pan. So let me do this. That. Okay. And I just usually cut them on my baking mat and then move them over there. And they got to sit for 20 minutes. Make sure they're all close together and touching. And I think this is a 9x13 pan, so you can probably even get away with using a smaller pan than that. And if you double the recipe, then yeah, this pan would work. So, and I've got some garlic butter over there in the microwave that we're gonna melt in just a minute. So when they get done, they're gonna be coated with that garlic butter. They're super good. Okay, so I got them in the pan and they're all touching, as you can see. They're all touching. You can spread them out a little bit more if you want to make them square. And they're all touching. Okay, so now they're gonna sit and rise for 20 minutes and then we'll be ready to stick them in the oven. Now, it doesn't take that long for those rolls to cook. So depending on your oven, it may take 12 minutes, it may take 15 minutes. Mine at home takes 11 minutes. So you're gonna have to watch them. Once they're golden brown on top, then they're done. Got my rolls in, so I'm gonna start this again for 10 minutes and I gotta get the rolls out. Okay, I'm gonna check on my rolls. Yep, I'm ready to get right, rolls should be brown just like that.
That was the first of a series of programs that we are putting out. The Henrietta has started a little YouTube channel, the Henrietta TV. We are going to go there and we are going to expand this into several other areas. Different kind of programming, and not just news. There will be podcast news. There will be all kinds of things coming up on this channel over the next few weeks. We are starting to putting programming together. Has taken a little longer time than we expected to get ready, but we are almost there. So Tricia did the first cooking show. Her show will be something that comes in every 2 weeks. Not every 2 weeks. Every week at 2 p.m. in the afternoon on Sunday. Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. every single week. We will also put up a program schedule on our website, thehenrietta.com. You will have a schedule there so you can see what programming is coming up, podcasts, newscasts, different kind of shows. So you will see that. But anyway, this was a start, and we thank you for really thank you for watching today. And go ahead and subscribe. Hit that subscribe button and like, share. Feel free to comment if you want, and we go from there and we try to get back to you. But if you subscribe, hit the bell, you will always be notified of new shows coming out on this channel. God bless, and we'll see you soon again.